righty. Hello and welcome back to Nolan Financial Radio. My name is Tara Nolan from Nolan Financial. And if you would like more information about our show, about what you're going to hear, you can give us a call at 719-210-4242 and definitely visit us online at www.taraenolan.com. And while you're at my website, you can click on the radio page and check out past shows. And you can also go to YouTube because we're now doing these live as well. But you want to subscribe on our program for Apple Podcasts and Spotify if you want to listen to it when you're driving and doing that kind of thing. But don't hesitate to reach out and give us a call with questions and to set up a face-to-face meeting. You know, we're working through the bugs of doing this video, and apparently we're still not quite set up with LinkedIn. So that'll be coming live on LinkedIn soon as well. So it's very interesting today because I'm working on the book, Wealth is a Team Sport. So I'm just doing lots of interviews with people and gathering lots of information because it's funny. I've been a financial planner for a lot of years, a financial advisor, and in this business. But it's always good to reach back and talk to people because once you start learning things, you just think you know it. And then you forget like what it is when you don't know all these things off the top of your head. And it's interesting how retirement planning can be like so straightforward and then completely murky at the same time. So if you're feeling confused about it, you're not alone because there's just layers of complexity. And, and most people have a pretty good idea of like what they want in terms of, here's where I want to live and here's the things I want to be able to do. But then there's just a lot of questions about the financial resources that exist. And then, there's the confusion of the IRS with the tax code. And so there's just like these layers of complexity that exist. And so happy to talk about it today. And we're going to have a little fun with today's show because we're going to have some factoids about retirement, but we're going to also have some fun factoids about movies because frankly, Tony and I like to keep ourselves entertained.
We do. We do. We like to keep the show fun, Tara, right?
If we're not having fun, no one else is having fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's got to start at the beginning with us.
Yeah, I think it sounds like a great show. So, Tara, I know you usually are very busy. You've been working on finishing your book. You've been working on a lot of different things with your career, with the financial services industry, and you and Chris have been meeting with people. So you're busy, aren't you?
Oh, Tony, so busy, but a lot of fun. So we are probably, hopefully by the end of this month, going to have the brand new website launched. And I'm very excited about that. We've been working with No Guts, No Glory up in Denver, actually. Turns out they're in my backyard. And they are really redesigning the whole website. And Tony, they have skills.
That's good.
So
mad programming skills. I love it.
And then they're also helping me get swoopy on all the video. I used to be pretty good at it, but boy, tech just moves like that. You step away from it a minute, you come back and you're like, where's the button?
It's hard.
How do I make it do this?
It's hard. The older I get, the more I used to be the tech guy and on top of it. And the older I get, I find, wow, okay, I need to bring my 21-year-old son in here to do, to get the technical aspect down for me. So I think that's great, Tara. And I can't wait to see the new website. And No Guts, No Glory, a lot of great branding, marketing website. I'm excited to see what happens there.
It's really looking good. So I went through and looked at some tweaks. And so I think it's going to be exciting.
Excellent.
So enough about that, though. We probably should jump in with the show today.
Yes.
People probably actually want some financial information.
Yes. Yes. So we're talking about, our retirement, some surprising retirement facts that people might not know. So I always I should have brought the popcorn, right? With butter. So what's the first thing? Where do you want to start?
Well, and the first piece of information, and I'm hoping this isn't news to people, but the fact is Social Security is not going to provide enough money for you to live on. Social Security was never designed to be a retirement plan. And it's probably going to give about somewhere less than 40% of what you were used to living on while you were working. And it's really important, though, because when you get used to living, let's just say you get used to living on $100,000 a year, when you retire, that's not going to change. You're going to be used to spending that kind of money and, with the habits of eating out and traveling that go with that. So just know like Social Security is going to be a part of your retirement income, but it's that other percentage, about that other 60% that you want to look at with your IRAs, your pensions, your 401ks, and kind of put all that money together to make sure that you're still going to be able to enjoy the retirement that you've spent so many years working towards.
Right. Yeah, I think that's true.
And this is always funny, Tony. So we're going to have the factoid. I think you should introduce these, but I'll introduce it and then you can make it funny. So our first movie fact of the day comes from Toy Story, and one of the favorites. And the planning process for before Toy Story was released is the spaceman Buzz Lightyear was actually going to be called Lunar Larry.
That's actually terrible. Lunar Larry. I can't believe that.
And so they've changed his name to honor Buzz Aldrin, the second man to walk on the moon.
Well, I have to be honest with you, Tara. Honestly, Lunar Larry. I cannot picture a character named Lunar Larry shouting "to infinity and beyond." I can't. And that's a horrible name. I'm glad they changed it to Buzz Lightyear. That's a great name.
Yeah, Lunar Larry sounds like from the Adult Swim on Comedy Central.
Yeah, it sounds a little edgy or purposely weird or lame. Not good for Toy Story. So yeah, Toy Story, one of my favorite movies, one of my family's favorite movies. That's a good one, especially the original. You can't beat it.
Absolutely. So now getting back to money.
Yes.
Another surprising retirement fact that I want people to take to heart is that, and it's a good news, I think, is employers are increasingly seeing the value of their older workers.
That's
and
good.
This article points out that 51% of the respondents will think that older workers are more skilled at problem solving than their younger counterparts, which kind of seems obvious, doesn't it?
Yeah. I would think that's obvious.
Now that I'm one of those older workers.
Yes.
I like
as we become older workers. Yeah.
As we pat ourselves on the back.
Yeah. Hey, I've got experience. Yeah.
Right. So our next movie fact is about the movie Poltergeist, which probably most of our young listeners have never even heard of.
Yeah.
During this horror classic, the actress Jo Beth Williams is seen swimming through a pool of bones and skulls.
Yeah.
Super creepy.
Yeah.
But here's the creepy part, actually. It turns out those weren't props. It was cheaper to use real skeletons than artificial ones.
Oh, Tara, I have so many questions. I don't even know where to begin. I don't want to even think about that. That movie is creepy anyway. And now knowing that's just like, wow, I can't believe they got her to do that. Honestly.
I can't even, we'll just move on from that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's really interesting though, it's one of the reasons why movies and retirement facts are such a good fit for today, Tony, is according to this article, older people really love going to the movie. I know. Sure. I do.
Yep, I do.
For me, there is nothing I like better than like if I'm going to treat myself just in the middle of the afternoon on a perfectly nice day and just to go sit in a dark theater by myself. I can sit wherever I want. I can eat whatever I want and just have a nice couple hours.
Yep. I love going to the movies.
Apparently 70% of moviegoers are 50 and older.
Wow.
They're buying tickets before 7 p.m.
Wow. That's huge. Yeah, I knew it was it seems like moviegoers now are either families with really young children going to kids movies or 50 plus. It seems like that the 20s and 30s, especially the teenagers and in their 20s, college kids aren't actually going to movie theaters. Of course, with COVID, no one was, but I still love going to the theater and see, the popcorn with the butter. Love it.
And the hard part for me now, right, is I've changed my eating habits. So really popcorn is not on my list anymore.
Oh, well, especially with that poison they put on it.
Because I used to go to the movie theater. It really didn't matter about the movie. It was just an excuse to eat popcorn.
Right. Unfortunately, that's where I'm at. But yeah, it's probably not good for you.
So Tony, here's a question for you. Okay. What state has the highest senior population?
The highest senior population? It has to be Florida, right?
Yeah, that was kind of a gimme, wasn't it?
Yeah, but all the seniors down there.
Here's the question. It was pretty funny when I was a cadet. My sponsor dad, he was famous for lists of things, and he never wanted to know the most popular thing. He wanted to know who was number 2 on the list. So now I will ask you, which state has the second highest senior population? This is tougher.
I would say it would have to be Arizona.
You'd think, right? It's actually Pennsylvania. Believe it or not, 15.4% of the Keystone population state is seniors.
What?
I wonder what I don't get that.
I mean, Pittsburgh isn't exactly a retirement destination, I would think. How many people are retiring to Pittsburgh? So that one does surprise me. I find that hard to believe because, well, I mean, and there are nice towns. I like a lot of Philadelphia and Lancaster. I know some people there. Beautiful town, nice people. But Pennsylvania for retirement or for seniors?
It's got to be people from like DC and New York City getting out into the country, but not too far away from the city. That's got to be.
Maybe it's that, or, and not to diss Pennsylvania, or once people reach young adulthood, they move out of the younger people are leaving the state, which just leaves the population more older population. You know, the population is older. You know,
that could be true because they didn't say, they just said 15% of the population and maybe not what the population actually is.
That's true.
There you go. You can do anything with numbers, right?
Well, yeah. Well, yeah. And this has been a great show so far, but let's let the listeners know how they can get a hold of you to get a financial plan in place so they can retire comfortably and enjoy the movies. Sure.
Because that's what today's show is all about, is making sure that you're set up for success. And so you can definitely give Chris and I a call at 719-210-4242. If you want to set up that complimentary appointment, we have set aside complimentary calls that go along with every show that we're doing. And definitely visit our website at www.taraenolan.com.
All right.
Give us a call.
Yeah, thanks, Tara. And I can't wait to see the new website later on this month or early next month when that goes live. That'll be awesome. Now, we've been having some fun, but now let's move on. It's time for the sequel. Time for our second segment. You know what they say about sequels, though, Tara? They're not always that great. So let's defy the odds and make this one even better than the first one. What do you have for us?
Well, it's tough because sequel gold is The Rock.
Yeah.
He said that on Saturday Night Live. He said, I'm sequel gold.
Sequel gold.
So we're not going to have The Rock today. And actually, we're going to get a little more serious for just a second. So the next thing talking about a surprising fact is roughly 1 in 3 seniors lives alone. And additionally, you know, older women are obviously twice as likely to live on their own because women are just living longer. Yeah. And in fact, Tony, nearly 50% of women who are 75 or older are living alone. That's a lot. Yeah.
And probably a good number of those 65 and older. Even there's some in that category too, which adds to it. That is a lot. And, you know, we've talked about this before on shows, and it's a serious problem, I think, for older people, that it leads to significant physical and mental health issues. So I think it's important to stay engaged is one part of it, to stay happy and find ways to stay engaged. The loss of a spouse it's serious. Nobody likes to think about it, but it's going to happen eventually. And so the spouse that remains, whether it's the husband or the wife or which one of the couple it is, you have to stay active, but you also have to plan for that financially. And I think that's really, really good. And one way to stay active, join a film club. We can tie it back into the movies or start a film club. That's always fun.
You know, and you're spot on, Tony. And obviously with the pandemic, this social isolation has become a problem for everybody.
Yeah.
And so, we just want to make sure you're not alone if you're living that way, and make sure that you're reaching out to make those connections, because you just have to do it, getting out of that comfort zone.
Yep. But, hey, how about I give the next piece of movie trivia, because I want to give, let's jump back into the movie facts that might surprise people. We're talking about surprising retirement facts, but throwing some fun in here with movie facts, Tara. One of my favorite movies is Ghostbusters. Okay. I love Ghostbusters. I love Bill Murray. Bill Murray is one of my favorites. Did you know, Tara, that Ghostbusters was originally going to be called Ghost Smashers?
No,
that was
the original. You made that up.
Nope, that's true. Dan Aykroyd was going to call it Ghost Smashers. And here's the big thing that I always find fascinating. Dan Aykroyd had a huge hit with his friend John Belushi with Blues Brothers, and they made a great comedy duo on Blues Brothers. So he was writing the next big movie vehicle for them. He was writing a screenplay, Dan Aykroyd, to star him and John Belushi. So Bill Murray's part was going to be played by John Belushi in Ghostbusters, and Dan Aykroyd wrote that part for him. But then unfortunately John passed, and they were going to offer it to Michael Keaton. But then Bill Murray said, hey, I want to be in this movie. So Bill Murray got the part. So a lot of people don't know that about Ghostbusters.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of a fun fact. That Michael Keaton almost played in that movie. And have you ever you've seen Ghostbusters, right?
Of course I have. Of course I have.
Okay. Whew. You scared me there for a minute. You scared me there. So what's the next thing? What's the next financial fact or surprising retirement fact you have for us?
Well, the next really important piece of information is just talking about Social Security. So if you take your Social Security early, the IRS can actually tax as much as 85% of your check, depending on where you live. But you may not have to pay state income tax on that money. So there's actually just 13 states that require you to pay income taxes on Social Security. And so it's really important. And this is why I always like people to work with a tax preparer or CPA, because the rules are different in every state, just to keep it interesting.
Sure. Yeah, that's just to keep it interesting. They have to change it from state to state. It can't just be across the board and make it simple for you as a financial advisor or for the rest of us filing for Social Security. That's interesting. So as much as 85% of Social Security can be taxed in certain situations, and a lot of people I don't think realize that. So that's another great fact. It's another great reason to work with a financial services professional like yourself.
Exactly, Tony. And so, but now to another fun fact about the movies.
Okay.
So Tim Burton did The Nightmare Before Christmas. And if you remember, that was one of those, it's kind of animated kind of things.
It's claymated.
And
yeah.
Claymation. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it had 24 frames per second. And so that meant the characters had to be posed by hand 24 times for each second to complete the film. And so it took them 3 years to make that movie.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And you can tell the attention to detail in that movie. It's a stop action. They call it a stop action movie, and I think it's claymation as well. But that's amazing. And what if we all made that same commitment to our financial and retirement strategies, Tara? How happy would that make you?
Very happy, Tony, because it's those attention to the little details that help you get there.
Yeah, that is amazing. It's
when you're trying to get it all done in one big fell swoop that it makes it a challenge.
Yep, exactly.
So it's those little steps, baby steps along the way that really make it work. And so the next two things we're going to talk about now are focused on travel. And the first fact is that according to AARP, 99% of baby boomers travel for fun.
Wow.
And with most of those seniors taking around 5 trips a year. And so to me, that's not very surprising. And hopefully we get back there now that I'm fully vaccinated now. I got my second COVID vaccine.
Me too. Me too.
But what's surprising, Tony, is about 2/3 of retirees, they just don't budget for travel. And I think this is normal because when you're working and you're busy, you don't have time for travel. So you don't think about it. And then all of a sudden when you retire, you go, oh, now I have time. But you also want to make sure that you create a budget to do that.
Sure.
So you really definitely want to include that. I definitely like to have people plan at least 1 trip a year. If you don't take the trip, it's fine. But it sure is a bummer to say, okay, I finally have time and now I haven't budgeted for travel and I can't go. That's not what you want to do.
Well, yeah. And it is a surprising fact that less than 1/3 of retirees out there, at least in that category, have not budgeted anything for travel in retirement, but yet they're traveling a lot. So I think a lot of people want to travel in retirement. They want to go see grandkids or take a cruise or do whatever. And once things start to get back to normal here, probably starting later this year, early next, people are going to be traveling more again. And you have to have that budgeted as part of your overall retirement plan and strategy and your financial strategy, which you plan before retirement, hopefully. So, and that's where you come in. I know that's what you help people do. So let's talk about that. How can our listeners out there make sure they have a plan in place that takes into account all these things like travel, inflation, going to movies, living comfortably. How do they set that up with you?
Oh, Tony, that's what Chris and I do. Is the best way is to give us a call at 719-210-4242. We'd like to do that initial complimentary call to talk about what we can do and what you need, because all these things, Tony, you shouldn't have to guess. And we really believe that a plan is like the basic foundation for everything, because plans will change, right? But once you kind of organize everything and get it laid out, then that lets you know where you stand, and so that you can figure out how to do those fun things.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about.
I think that's great. Well, and people, you're listening to Nolan Financial Radio with our host, Tara Nolan, and myself, your co-host, Tony Shore. And during the first two segments of our show today, we combined surprising facts about retirement with some interesting facts about some of our most loved movies. That first segment was great. And I think we pulled off the rare feat of making the second one great as well. Even the sequel, it was even stronger. So now we're in segment 3, the final part of our trilogy. And trilogies are tricky when it comes to movies, at least. So I hope you're ready for this one, Tara.
Well, I kind of want to do the fun fact before we do the financial tip.
Oh, sure.
Because we're going to look at Empire Strikes Back. I am a huge Star Wars fan.
Oh, love that movie.
And we're thinking Han Solo and Carrie Fisher, and the scene where she unfreezes him out of the carbonite and she says, "I love you." And in the script, Harrison Ford is supposed to say, "I love you too." But no.
Not Harrison Ford.
That wouldn't be, Han Solo would never say that. Do you remember what he said?
Yep, I do. I do remember what he said. He said, "I know."
I know. I love that. Just like a little kid. I know.
and the fact that he ad-libbed that, and I had heard that before. It is surprising, but I've heard it before. The script said, "I love you too," but he just says, "I know," which is totally in character. That's the character. That's what Han Solo would say. That is so great. That's what's great about a good actor, that they can improv and make. Really, they get to know the character so well, they can really forget the script and make the character do what he would do. That's amazing.
So speaking of I know, this is a really good thing that everyone out there listening should know, is that there are tax counseling programs for the elderly that will provide complimentary tax to help people 60 years and older. And so taxes is definitely not one of those things, Tony, that you should just go, "I know." Get some help, especially when you can get the help for free. Because the IRS, there's always little changes to the rules and what you can and can't do. And Tony, my CPA has saved me so much money once I finally started working with a CPA versus doing it myself, because I just wasn't taking advantage of things that I could have because I just didn't know. And so for those folks listening out there, the IRS has a program called Tax Counseling for the Elderly. And so I highly encourage, if you don't currently work with a tax preparer or have someone help you, take advantage. It's a free service.
Yeah, I can't. That surprised. I did not know that the IRS provided free tax help and counseling for seniors. That's awesome. That's more good news right there. So, I think this really the I know. You don't just say I know about taxes. I know about Social Security. There's a lot more to it. So, and that again, that's why you need to work with a financial professional. So what do you have next for us? What's the next surprising fact?
Well, Tony, this next thing caught my eye because it's not surprising to me, but I always like it when I can find data that supports my position.
Of course.
and so the thing that caught my eye was that 54% of retirees intend to keep working after they retire. And the thing is not because they have to, because they want to. And so, and Tony, I can't tell you how many people I've had go through retirement, say, "That's it, I'm done, I'm retired." And Tony, within 6 months, they are bored out of their mind. And they're back at work because they want the social interaction, or because they now get to pick something that they really enjoy doing. You spend a lot of time working and you get into that zone because you've got your family and the mortgage and you're taking care of everybody. Once you retire, it's that one of those changing points in life where you got to go, what do I want to be when I grow up?
Exactly.
And so this is just a huge thing for folks listening out there, is you're coming up on retirement, But it's a really good time to start thinking about it and thinking about what retirement looks like for you, because odds are you may not fully retire, because a lot of people just don't.
Yeah, that's true. And, the possibility of working a couple of days a week after you retire, that's a good thing to talk to your financial services professional about, to talk to you, Tara, and Chris about. I mean, the part-time income, even if you don't need it, it could transform your financial strategy. I mean, earlier in the show, you talked about seniors who want to travel, but most haven't sufficiently budgeted for it. Well, a part-time job doing something you enjoy could be the answer to that.
It can, and it can also make a difference in how old you are and when you take Social Security. So there's a lot of different things that factor in. And so, yeah, you want to have all the data points in when you're making your decisions. So really good. So our next fun fact, we're back to Harrison Ford.
Oh, okay.
We got to do a lot of really fun movies. And
yeah.
Did you know that for Indiana Jones, he was not the first choice?
Oh, wow. Kind of like the Ghostbusters thing I mentioned earlier.
Exactly. So, and I didn't know this, that Tom Selleck was originally cast as the globe-trotting archaeologist.
Tom Selleck, Magnum, I can't picture him in that role at all. The mustache doesn't work for me for Indiana Jones.
It would have been a totally different thing, because Harrison Ford just is Harrison Ford.
Yeah, and he is Indiana Jones too. I mean, I can't picture anyone but him in that role. That's crazy. So that's wild. I didn't know that. Indiana Jones without Harrison Ford is impossible for me to imagine.
It is impossible to imagine. But then this is another thing that's interesting. So here's another fun fact, is that 80% of baby boomers say that the cost of living is the most important factor when it comes to choosing where they're going to retire. And I would have thought that it would have been like living close to family.
Yeah, I would think so.
And actually, it's really about the cost of living. And I can just tell you, well, living in Colorado, Tony, we get a lot of people that are coming from California, because it's so much cheaper here in Colorado than it is from California.
That's true. That's a good point.
And I can tell you, like, we moved from Arkansas to Colorado, and it was a sticker shock for us. So there are definitely parts of the country you can live where your money will go a lot farther.
Well, sure. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, Arkansas to Colorado, I imagine it was some sticker shock there for sure. So now what's another interesting retirement fact that you have for us?
This one makes me chuckle just a little bit, is that a Merrill Lynch survey asked if people enjoyed hanging out with their children or their grandchildren more. And most of people picked their grandchildren.
Of course, they've already spent 20 plus years probably, or 18 plus years with their children. They want to spend time with the grandkids. Yeah,
they do. And I think it's a little bit of that. They want to get in that "I told you so."
They do. Oh, my parents live for that. They live to tell, well, you know what your dad did when he was your age. And that you're a lot smarter because you're not going to do this. I hear that all the time,
right?
from my parents. That one made me smile. Well,
you should have a little fun.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know what, Tara? I just looked at the clock. We're out of time. I can't believe it. The show just flew by. So, is there anything else you want to add before we have to go today?
Well, I just would like anyone listening to today's show. We did have a lot of fun, but the bottom line is, if you're coming up on retirement, start thinking about planning, because you want to make sure you have enough, so Social Security is going to be part of it. You're going to have 401ks, you're going to have pensions, you're going to have all these different puzzle pieces, and you want to make sure you have enough so that you can enjoy retirement the way you want to enjoy it. So definitely give Chris and I a call at 719-210-4242 to set up that complimentary call, the discovery call, where we can look and see if there's a fit for how we can help you. But otherwise, look at what you're doing and make sure you're setting yourself up for success.
Excellent. Well, great show today, Tara. And listeners, that does it for today's episode of Nolan Financial Radio with our host, Tara Nolan.
Join us for another episode of Nolan Financial Radio. Take care, and we'll talk with you next time.